publisher. I have TJ Morris Publishing, and I do Lulu and Amazon. But all of these guys are in my life because they all are an author. If you want to know what have they got in common, well, we're all authors. So with that said, and Tommy can tell you, we'll get your books out there. But I build the pictures and the websites. But I'm going to get off here and go back on mute. Okay, I'm so glad, Ronnie, that I didn't bump you, and I thought you hung up on me. All right, so if that happens, folks, try to get back on.
Yeah, very rural. Yeah, it's so rural.
Very rural.
It's something.
Well, I thought.
You can't keep getting
Dr. Bruce and Jan were going to fire me because I'm like, God, TJ, you can't be running people out of our club, man. All right, I'm going to go on mute.
Yeah, Tommy, are you going to jump in here and fill us in with more of your opinions? I guess he's off. I wonder if he's still connected now.
No, can you hear me? You can't hear me? Hello?
I can now. I can now.
Oh, all right. Okay. So, yeah, I've been involved with this since I was 6 years old. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. But what happened, I was pulled into it at 6 in the hospital. My brother was having his tonsils out, and so was I. And the story starts in my life when a ship was coming to abduct my brother. And I kind of went to the window where the ship was and put my hands on the window, and then the ship shot right back out into space. So that's how it started. But then from then on, I kind of was being pulled into a lot of different directions at the same time, including working with a deity, working with different spirits and things like that. But by the time I was 14, I was doing Ghostbusting in New York City. I was doing hypnosis at 15. So I got involved with, I was one of the first people, and I probably was the first person in the United States to actually start doing past life regression when I was really young. I tried to figure out a word about it, and I came up with that. I know a woman came out and said she created it about 10 years later, but I didn't go public with it. I was doing people that I know and working that way. I never did anything I did to make money. I wrote my first book just to bring truth out. My second book was about truth, my truth, and then my third book was about truth. I use the word truth more than anything because I feel I have to put the truth out there. What I perceive, what I experience, and what I know as fact for myself. Sure, some people will not agree. I mean, the first alien being that I saw, I was 12, and I hate to admit it, James Gillen of the East City Ranch, his first alien that he saw is very similar because he talked about a person, kind of human body form with a cat's head, and that's the first thing I ever saw as well. So, I mean, his experiences with that was a little different than mine. I mean, I actually had a friend with me, and we both saw it. We were chasing it with a bat. We thought we were, and it went right through the door, and it went up in a saddle in a spaceship. So that's how it starts for me. I mean, but when I dealt with people, I got more involved with this and being pulled into a lot of different directions. I work with probably 2,000 people that were abducted, girls mostly, that lost their children and things like that. So I never needed truth, and I didn't have to search for it, and I wasn't out trying to promote it. I was just trying to help the people that I know that experienced it. And with the way it is today, everybody's allowed to come out and say it. They won't be put in the nut house right away, even though they will be put in the nut house if they have any real important information. I'll say one name, and people really need to search this out, and if they really care, he's in the nut house in Long Island. He was arrested due to the idea they said he had uranium and he was going to kill people. But he had the most incredible video I ever saw of a ship crash and with the aliens around it. So it's like when you have real truth, they kind of try to take it away. I could say I lost 6 direct friends of mine from childhood to now, rather than over the past 25 years, due to the UFO world. Now, when people come out and say they have experiences, everybody's having them. How really important to the world are they? Some experiences are important to the individual. So when we talk about these aliens that come to us, what are they really teaching us? What can we bring to the world? What will help us with that information? I mean, I can go into the big famous name people and what they say. I said, we need to bring something together that's going to help us, because when they do come, which race are we going to work with? I mean, I'm going to just say this real fast because I don't want to take up too much time. In the past couple of days, one of the most people friendship I made in a while was directly talking with me live when they were giving me pictures of a ship over the house, and then they showed me pictures of the alien that was coming around the house. So I saw a race I never saw before, but I saw it directly. So, and it was being videotaped, so it's not like it was somebody's dream, somebody's bad experience. That video can't come out for a while. When it does, it'll open more people's eyes, because the Hopi people talked about a certain race, which it was. And the Hopi people are the oldest people in the United States that have been here forever, have never been brought here. So when you talk about aliens, what are aliens? I mean, if they look the same, are they aliens or are they not? Like the Plejans are us from the future. They look like us. I mean, most races do not look anything even close to us, eat like us, or dress like us. So I'm going to give it back, but we need to put this together as far as what can really help us. I'm more concerned about helping the world. I mean, sure, we've got problems with Trump and the elections and things like that, but just what's going on around that, what our government's allowing to happen. And this is the last thing I'll say. The U.S. government, specifically the Navy, came out and just said a couple of days ago they will not release any information pertaining to UFOs and secret stuff going on because it would be destructive to the United States. So that's their viewpoint on disclosure about aliens. So with that, I'll give it back to DJ and Bruce. Sorry.
Yes. Well, thank you, Tommy, for bringing us up to date on what your involvement in it is, and I, on the other hand, have experienced some things. You have experienced some of these things, Tommy, with me out in the Wallkill River Valley, and I came out with a book recently last year called Unconventional Aerial Phenomena in the Hudson and Wallkill River Valley of New York, in which I document at least 137 close encounters. Now, I believe Jan was saying that close encounters have sort of dropped off in this millennium, and most of my close encounters were occurring in the 1990s. So that sort of fits in with his idea, because they tapered off and stopped by 2003. And I've documented most of the things that I've encountered with photographs and video and pictures that are in my book. And for anybody who's interested in seeing what is going on there in that part of the world. But what is different is that most of the craft that I witnessed and photographed are angular craft in the shape of triangles or diamond shapes, and some of them are even in the shape of conventional aircraft, but they can fold up wings and stabilizers and appear to be a cigar shape type of craft. And they differ from what we see in many other parts of the country and the world in the sense that they have their underground bases right there in the valley, and most people don't even realize it, that these ships are coming out of the ground and going into the ground, into their underground bases with impunity. And the military is very interested in them, but there's also a question of how much cooperation there is between people in the military and these non-humans that live underground. And that is something that I hope to find out more about. But there's no question that there seems to be some connection. and the question of how many of these sightings that we see are what we call ARVs versus ETVs. ETV is extraterrestrial vehicle. ARV is alien reproduction vehicle. And we actually had performances authorized by the Pentagon for Skunk Works to give us a demonstration of the TR-3B, their triangular anti-gravity craft. And that video is online on my Buford website, and I'm going to be showing it at the UFO Mega Convention in Laughlin this next month. but most people wouldn't expect the government to reveal something of that magnitude before cameras, and yet that seems to be part of the way the disclosure is happening in drips and drabs over time. What do you think, Tommy?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think.
And Jan, have you? I mean, a lot of these triangular craft that we are seeing, the increase in numbers, or many people now begin to think that they are our own military hardware, and so if what we witnessed and recorded on film is for real, is a military craft, then our military has a lot more technology than the public is aware of, and that could be one major reason why the military will not disclose, because that would put the United States into great jeopardy with our enemies around the world.
John, I'll let you go. I just want to say one thing real fast. I'm in Hawaii. I'm on the Big Island. I was in town at the bank on the far end of, it's called Hilo, the town, and on the side of that's the mountain. So I was going to a bank that was closed down. I didn't know it was closed down, so I'm walking out of the bank. Around the side, this giant black triangle came out at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. It came right out of the mountain. It was super large. I would say it was like a 747, but it was a black triangle. The only thing that was so bad, which I couldn't understand, it was the loudest thing I ever heard. It was blowing my eardrums out. And when I reached for my I had two different cameras on me, and I grabbed one of them. It was blank, and the other one was blank. But within 5 seconds, it was clearly gone. I mean, it was directly over my head, maybe 100 feet when it was above my head. But when I looked, it was gone out into space within like 4 to 5 seconds. So the technology of that ship was, and I'm sure it was, government, Hawaii government, but how fast it disappeared was amazing. But what I found out, most of the people in town didn't hear it. I mean, I was directly under it. But yeah, I asked people in town, did you hear that? Did you hear what? Hear what? Hear what? I mean, Hilo's a really busy town, noisy and everything, but the noise almost blew my eardrums out. And like we know most of the things that we see and hear don't have any noise. But
right.
I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, that's good, because I've when I was at NIDS, I had a report of a black triangle that was seen taking off from a naval base near San Diego, and it's as it took off, it had to stop immediately to allow MD-10 commercial airliner to pass it as on its way to landing at the San Diego airport, and then the witnesses saw it. Once the aircraft had passed, that triangle just took off like a bat out of hell, and clearly was coming from a military airfield. So we have this technology, and that is one of the reasons I think that the military cannot disclose too much. Otherwise, they're going to expose our own vulnerability to our enemies.
Right. Hey, are you guys familiar with the Wilson leak? Did y'all hear anything on that?
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yes. Yeah, about the Space Force or the Solar Warden stuff.
Yeah. It's a part of the government that's like it doesn't have any oversight on spending or anything, and they work just outside the government, where even it's not even listed in top secret. So the government has no right to the information. All they do is fund it, and it's private industry that is doing all the research on the alien technology that they supposedly have. And, I got a good friend that's been up close and personal with those documents and stuff. And it's like, well, that tells you right there that our government is in. There's no telling what we have out there, because they've been working on it a long time.
Right.
So,
and
I know,
going back to the 30s and the Nazis, they were working with it too.